Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Refutation, and I'm here to refute Katarina Vaughn's claim that the failure to adequately inform people about asexuality has harmful consequences. My opponent first starts off by supporting her claim with the following secondary claims. Asexuality is a lot more common than people think. A majority of the population is uninformed about asexuality, and the lack of public awareness leads to harmful consequences. So in regards to her first claim that asexuality is a lot more common than people think, I have to say that she has failed to prove her claim because her supporting claim does not actually prove how harmful consequences arise. It's not actually relevant to the main claim. She tells us in evidence from a study done by Anthony Bogart, a professor at Brock University, that 18,000 people who participated in this study, 1% of those people agreed that they have never felt sexually attracted to anyone at all. She makes the connection that 1% of the world's population is about 73 million people, and although this is not explicitly stated, assuming 1% of the Earth's population to be asexual based off of this study is not a fair comparison. It is not equal, and she can't actually make that connection legitimately. This study does not represent the world's population, therefore it does not prove her claim. Next, on to her secondary claim. The majority of the population is uninformed about asexuality. Here she has failed to address in which ways this shows that inadequately informing people about asexuality has harmful consequences. Her secondary claim has therefore failed to defend her main claim. She says that we live in a heteronormative society where sex is everywhere, movies, books, magazines, and heterosexuality is constantly forced onto anyone different. This is false. It is not forced onto people who are different. Yes, the idea of heterosexuality is publicized quite often, especially at really inappropriate times. But by saying this, she's saying that it's the only allowed sexual orientation for people everywhere, and this is false. There are people of many different types of sexual orientations worldwide, and therefore her claim is irrelevant. In conclusion, she says that a lack of public awareness leads to harmful consequences. This is simply restating her main claim, and it doesn't actually state whether her evidence is. It doesn't state what her evidence is supposed to defend. She quotes an asexual writer, Courtney Ehrenhoffler, from the Huffington Post. Courtney says she feels alienated from society because of the fact that she is constantly surrounded by the heteronormative society that we live in today. But that is not necessarily a consequence, especially to Miss Ehrenhoffler herself. If people do not share the same sexual orientation as the author, they may actually cause her conflict and personal troubles and issues and have negative effects on her. And so by not associating herself with people like that, not that she doesn't have to, but by not associating herself with those people who do not share the same views, she's kind of benefiting herself, because it's the way like people who have contrasting views on religion, politics, race and ethnic issues, sometimes you're just better off not listening to the opposing opinions of people, and therefore alienating herself is not really something she could say that society does to her. Okay, so, sorry. All in all, her claims that asexuality is a lot more common than people think, and the majority of the population is uninformed about asexuality, are both irrelevant and do not support her main claim. And then a lack of public awareness, her final claim, leads to harmful consequences, does not actually support her main proposition. It's just restating it, and therefore her argument is invalid. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
All right.
I gave you.
Yes, you gave it to me. That's fine. All right, you ID the claim clearly. There's a good layout of the secondary structure. You signpost the first point as you get to it. You challenge this definition of harmful consequences, which I thought was fine. There's a little bit of a press on whether or not the statistical analysis that she used was a valid one. I'm not exactly sure how important it is that it be 100% valid. If it was half as many, if it wasn't 73 million but it was only 35 million, would her argument be less relevant or less important? I think you need to explain that a little bit more. On the second point, there's a good clear transition. You were basically challenging the relevance of the argument to the main proposition, but you need to explain why it's not relevant a little bit more clearly. Then you present a counterclaim that says it's not forced, but the only proof that you have on this is kind of a vague reference that talks about how we have a variety of sexual orientations in the world, but you don't provide any evidence on that, and there's no demonstration that those are allowed to be practiced without any pressure on them also. So I think that maybe you just needed a little bit more information on that point. On the third point, you kind of are challenging the premise here that there is a consequence. I wasn't sure how your argument was being applied. You talked specifically about the evidence that the advocate used, and it was not very clear. It was a little bit clearer when you used the analogies to race, politics, and religion, in essence saying, look, people can just stick with their own. They don't have to hang with the others, and so as a result, there's no negative consequence to them in those situations, so why would there be negative consequences to people if they're dealing with their asexuality? That, I thought, made a little bit more sense. So I think you've got good presses on this. I think you needed a little bit more evidence, especially on the second point. All right, thank you.